Dickensian means pertaining to the works of Charles Dickens. Orwellian means liking those to the works of George Orwell. If these two names are so synonymous with their own work that the only way to truly compare that work is to directly name check them in said description. Dickensian or Orwellian, that means that there's got to be a Cagean, right? Welcome to Half-Ass Movie Podcast. Damn it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Half-Ass Movie Podcast, a show where we put together a half-ass theme as an excuse to watch movies. My name is Adam Portress, and joining me today, his life wasn't so much Dickensian as it was more Gamodian? I don't know. Bruce Leslie.
Oh, man, I was not expecting full frontal nudity in my Christmas movie, but wouldn't you know it, the baby gave it to us.
No. Hey, listen, if there's not a little bit of pee flying in the air, what kind of holiday spirit do you truly have? Am I right?
Oh, man, that diaper was disgusting.
Whew. At least there was enough. At least they had the common courtesy to like give you like just enough and then cut away real fast to where it was just kind of like it was already in your mind and bad, but without having to, kind of wallow in it.
I'm going to make some speculation here. The Fairley brothers would not have cut away as quickly.
No, I think they would have actually lingered for quite some time. So much so, some cranberries would come on in the background there, and you're like, "Yeah, we've been asking that question. Why are we lingering on this? Don't do that to us anymore." Well, we are back, everybody, and it is St. Nicholas Cage, the Christmas movies of Nicolas Cage, and this week we got The Family Man from what is this 2000, straight up 2000 here and everything. I was 18 in the year 2000, and if I'm watching a Nicolas Cage movie, it wasn't going to be the Christmas Nicolas Cage movie. I'm going to be quite frank with you. And so this is my first time watching this one because, like, again,
oh, for real?
Oh, yeah.
I saw this like in August after it came out, so it was probably new at Blockbuster or something like that, but it was totally not the right season to be watching it. So it was kind of weird, but I do remember I've seen it once before. And I think there's some parts of this movie after watching them again recently that I was convinced were actually in The Weatherman and vice versa. So, yeah, I got to kind of feel like I was watching it for the first time again. I'll just put it that way. But I had seen it before.
I mean, they're 5 years apart. They both start with an article, and they both end with man. So it's,
and they're both Cagean.
And they're both Cagean, and let's be honest, he is kind of like, it's not the same character, but there are like certain elements and stuff that you could say parallel at least a little bit within the two and stuff like that. So it's not
similar performance.
Yeah, it's not an impossible reason to get these two conflicted and stuff like that. I remember seeing, like you said, I think I saw spots on this in Blockbuster, like they'd be playing him like on a TV or something like that. Or wherever it was. I just remember seeing the trailer for this, and all I could really remember was that scene in the car when Nic Cage is talking to Don Cheadle. Outside of that, it was just like, what is this even about? There's a lot of snow, and I figured it was like a Christmas movie and everything, but never really quite got around to it. So at least I'm glad to have put it within the rotation this year to just kind of, I don't want to say get out of the way. That sounds a little bit dismissive and everything, but it's a movie I hadn't seen of Nic Cage's. So, when you can knock one of those off, that's always, I don't want to say always good. That's not true. There's a lot of really garbage Nic Cage movies in there.
Yeah, there's a lot. You don't have to use a fine-tooth comb. You can kind of use a rake and still get,
yeah, exactly.
Still have the good ones left behind.
Speaking of combs, we're going to be talking about hair a whole bunch on this podcast this week, everybody. So I hope you are dialed in and ready to go.
You have any more opening remarks or thank yous before we jump into this one?
Well, let's first of all just head on down to patreon.com/HMP. Join up at any level, pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone. We really appreciate that. And head on over to our YouTube page here, everybody. YouTube, just look up Half-Ass Movie Podcast, and you'll see us there and everything. We've been getting a lot of views, a lot of subscribers, a lot of likes and comments, and all kinds of good stuff and everything. It has made me feel really happy. Like I'm monetized on YouTube now, and I'm going to be able to pay a bill or two with this stuff here this week. So, thank you guys so much. It's really meant a whole heck of a lot to me, and links are in the show notes and all that kind of good stuff. So check that out over there on the YouTube. We appreciate you. And if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment and say, I'm watching this on YouTube, and I'll see it and I'll comment on your other stuff, because that's the best thing. we're not big enough of a channel right now that we can't actually interact with people. So just about every comment that someone makes on one of my videos is getting a response from me. So, get in on the early train here and everything, because maybe one day I'll have enough to where I'm not responding to people. So be one of the people that I can respond to, everybody. That's links are in the show notes for that. Well, let's get into it, Bruce. Here's the Sean's out this week. I don't know if we mentioned that at the top of this show. I know we mentioned the Dinger Zone here and everything. Cracker Factory is all full up. They didn't put the salt on the on the crackers this week.
Don't lie. He's trying to get a Turbo Man for his daughter.
She really wanted that.
30-year-old daughter. He's trying to get a Turbo Man. And
Sinbad's not as mobile as he used to be back in the day, so he's it takes a little while longer to get through all that. All right, everybody, let's get into it. Here's the IMDb plot line for The Family Man. As we know, IMDb 100% correct in everything they say and or do. A fast lane investment broker offered the opportunity to see how the other half lives, wakes up to find his sports car and girlfriend have become a minivan and a wife. This is written by David Diamond and David Weissman. They did Evolution with David Duchovny, Minutemen, don't worry, no one's ever heard of that one. Old Dogs with Robin Williams and John Travolta, and When in Rome, which was they're all right. This is directed by Bret Rattner, who did Money Talks, Rush Hours 1, 2, and 3, Red Dragon, After the Sunset, X-Men Last Stand, Tower Heist, and everyone's favorite, Hercules with The Rock. That movie
I like that
sucked.
movie. Didn't we review that once?
I think we did. I think you try to put some of these things out of your mind, and that would be one of them, I would think. But I'm almost certain that we did.
Man, I saw that in the theater.
Whew. Hey, listen, man, I saw the Conan the Barbarian remake with Jason Momoa in the theater. So there's that.
Hey, I did not see that one in the theater, but I don't know how well you remember that movie, and I don't want to sidetrack this podcast.
It's all right. We do
that
it.
Opening was so awesome. I would compare it to Logan, or not Logan, but X-Men Origins Wolverine, where it's got this incredible opening, and then it follows it with some hot garbage.
Yeah, like that huge fight there and everything, and then like the pregnant lady gets stabbed, and the knife goes like through the belly, like near the baby there and everything, and like at the time it was in 3D, so it was like, what the hell is going on here? But that wasn't my most crazy bit with that movie. Do you know what happened with that movie?
What happened?
It was me, my dad, and my brother. We're kind of sitting there dead middle and everything. Guy comes in a little bit late, sits down at like that first row that's partitioned off, like just by where the handicap seats are there and everything. And during the opening, like all during the credits or all during the previews and stuff like that, he's looking on his phone. He's got his cell phone out, and that screen is bright, boy. So I'm just like, I'm squirming. I'm going like, oh man, this guy's gonna get this thing on there. He's gonna get that. Like,
you're not the kind of guy that's gonna let that pass.
No, I am not. Now, normally I'm not this guy, but I became this guy. I was just like, listen, I don't want to go down there and I'd like to be like, hey man, turn that stuff off, man, because there's no one else in the theater at this point, right? It's just the four of us. And but for whatever reason in my mind, I was just like, I got a plan that'll fix this all real good. Hey Mark, hand me a milk dud. So my brother hands me a milk dud. Now, I'm left-handed, and I don't have the most coordination in the world, but I throw this milk dud, and I'm thinking I'm going to hit, like, the back of his seat or something, get his attention, and be like, hey, man, turn off your phone. Like, because I ain't that good. Like, I was not the most athletic kid in the world. First day of baseball, I got hit in the eye with a baseball, so that was the end of that career. So that gives you, like, a little bit of idea. But son of a bitch, if this milk dud didn't just sail, like, just fucking perfect and hit this dude in the head. He got up from his seat, walked up the stairs again, all the way right. And I was on the kind of the far left end here. He comes into the row. Now he wasn't super big, but he was a well fit black guy with like dreads, a black tank top, and everything. He was menacing looking. He got my face, and he's just like, "Hey, why'd you throw that shit at me?" And I was just like, "Hey, man, turn off your cell phone." He's just like, "You could have fucking asked." And he just went back and sat in his seat. Now, granted, he didn't have his phone out for the rest of the movie. I'll tell you that much. But
to me, it sounds like a win-win because he was right. You could have just asked, but also he turned off his phone. So everybody went home and nobody went to the hospital.
Exactly. But the funny part was so we didn't say anything. We got to the end of the movie and stuff. And so afterwards, we're in the bathroom there. We're standing at the urinals, and like just in the middle, I just kind of like broke the silence and goes, "So, were you guys ready to throw down if anything happened?" And my brother is a redneck, right? So
Yeah,
if
and
there's
he's as tall as you, right?
yeah, we're all listen. Like Dad's 6'2" and he's the shortest, so that'll give you an idea right there. We're all big boys up in here. But my brother just goes, "Oh, I was ready," and pulls out like a 2.5-inch blade from his pocket.
You and your brother, I love your brother. I do, but you and your brother could not be more different.
No. And he was just like, "Oh, I was ready." He's like, if things were going down, I was set to go. I was like, that's the only reason why I didn't get my ass kicked is because there's 2 other large people here with me that you're not going to fight all 3 of us. See, I don't care how jacked you are. You're going down after that one. And then you don't realize that the redneck's got a knife. So
now, I think the best way to get this started, getting us back on track with our movie with Family Man, is I'd kind of like to just talk a little bit about the storytelling lineage here. You know, the way you would do it if you were discussing a story in a classroom or something, because I'm really interested. I'm like very intrigued by the history, the storytelling lineage on this.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's acknowledged by the folks who wrote the script that this is a retelling of It's a Wonderful Life, with Don Cheadle's character Cash being the Clarence character. But what they kind of did is they put Mr. Potter and George Bailey into one person, and they kind of turned it on its ear, where it's not, you know, it's not like when you're in your glimpse, you're getting a glimpse of the world without you. You're getting a glimpse of the world you could have had, you know, so it's kind of inverting it a little bit.
Yeah. It's enough of a new take on a very classic story. And again, it all goes back to Christmas Carol and Dickens and everything.
Right. And that was my next step, is from It's a Wonderful Life. You know, it's based on The Greatest Gift, which is a book that was self-published. And I think that there's a reason publishers didn't want to publish it in 1943. But The Greatest Gift was just trying to tell a modern American version of A Christmas Carol. But they didn't want Philip Van Dorenstern, the person who wrote it, which sounds like the guy that won that quiz show, doesn't it? Anyway, man, I get sidetracked easily. But the whole point is he wanted to democratize it. But some people thought maybe it was a little too communist, being as anti-capitalist as that story is. I don't know when the last time you've seen it, but you know, Mr. Potter is kind of the Scrooge, and he's the villain. He never gets redeemed. George Bailey is Bob Cratchit, and they're telling the whole thing like, no, it's not Scrooge who's going to make everything better. We're going to see all the good that Bob Cratchit did along the way, and it's more like a working man's story. I think it could have been considered during World War II. We're not quite in the Cold War yet, but we are still a little bit afraid of that communism idea, you know? And that's why I wondered, like, if Frank Capra making this movie ever got targeted. It's not said that he ever got targeted for it, but he did feel very disillusioned by what was happening during the McCarthy era and kind of quit making movies. And makes me wonder if he didn't maybe have some sympathy for those folks that got blacklisted, because this It's a Wonderful Life, you know, by taking Scrooge, turning him into the antagonist more or less, and then making the Bob Cratchit character into the one who gets visited and sees how valuable he is. You know, some people may not like that dynamic, but it's also a more American style story, because, you know, capitalism is a whole lot different than the sort of lineages people were born into still at that time, and when Dickens was writing his book. Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite SNL sketches is the It's a Wonderful Life director's cut, or lost scene, or whatever. You ever see that?
Oh, when they beat the heck out of Mr. Potter.
Yeah, all of a sudden Uncle Billy Billy realizes what he did, because when you look at the movie, Uncle Billy's the one who just leaves the money like a dum-dum just kind of there, and then Potter goes and steals it and everything. He just goes, "Hey, wait a second, I remember that." And they were like, "Oh, it's you." And then they just beat the ever-living snot out of this character forever. It's so great.
And, you know, It's a Wonderful Life, I did a deep dive into this movie and how it relates to It's a Wonderful Life, because my son was George Bailey on stage this weekend, and he crushed it.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like, for you, this is just like, I've already seen a better version of this before this started. What again with this story? All right, how many times are we going to try to, you know, reclaim a guy's life here and everything?
But yeah, it's great, because I think a lot of people forget that It's a Wonderful Life belongs in that subgenre of Christmas film, which is the Christmas Carol adaptation. But it certainly does, which means that this movie does too. And, you know, you just streamline it. Instead of 3 ghosts, you get one mysterious person whose first name starts with the letter C, and it's good to go.
And it's nice, though, because it does kind of I say that, but this is an over 2-hour movie, which it shouldn't be. It could lose easily 15, 20 minutes and still be good. But it should go faster than that. I think that's one of my little problems with the movie is that it is just a little too long. But it at least earns everything that it does, I think. And it does, like, there's enough. Let's talk about this. What is Nicolas Cage kind of rocking in this one? Because like I feel like we're at a time in 2000 where I'm going to call this fairly peak Cage. And I say that in as much as he can get away with whatever he wants to.
And he's still got the Air Force One muscle on him. You know, this opens up with him dancing around in his briefs. Well, it doesn't open up, but it's the second scene after the cold opening. He's dancing around in his briefs. Mm-hmm. And he's still in action star shape.
Oh yeah, he looks like he did in The Rock and everything. Like he's still got and trust me.
I said Air Force One. I meant my God.
That's what I figured you were talking.
Con Air, I think.
Yeah, Con Air and so there was enough. He's still got the action bod here on him, and I promise you, Nicolas Cage's idea was to walk around in his underpants in a couple of these scenes and stuff. There are certain things in here where you just go, that's Nic Cage, that's Nic Cage, that's Nic Cage. That was not like, there's a couple things in here where you're just like, there's no way this was in the script. This was bullcrap. Like him singing badly, this opera, which by the way, I dated an opera singer, and it took everything in me not to just text her and be like, can I show you this? How bad is this? Because it's not good, but I promise you that is 100% Nic Cage. There's no way that was in the film beforehand, him just singing loudly and all this stuff. And there's just several character choices and things that he's doing where I'm just like, nope, no way that was in the script. That came out of Nic Cage's head. Ton of that stuff in this movie.
There's one point where I think he almost harmonizes okay with the voice on the radio.
He's not. Here's the thing. He's not awful, but I promise you, in his head, this is going a lot better than it actually is.
Oh, in his head, he's waiting for the calls from the Metropolitan Opera to get him to feature.
He's like, listen, Pavarotti's sick this week. Do you want to sub in?
You know, I want to be that civilian barber. Is that what it's called?
Trust me, he would do it in a heartbeat.
And I would buy a ticket to see it and not expect it to be good and not be disappointed.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. And it would be what you would think it would be. And then you'd be like, wow, what a world we live in where Nic Cage is just getting to do whatever he wants. But listen, I like that world. I like a world where Nic Cage can do weird and crazy stuff. But I'm not going to lie to you. I also like when they can rein him in and stuff and, keep him on the straight and narrow. Like we saw with Raising Arizona. And the fact that, the Coens were like, hey, we got our way to do it. And your way, thanks for all the input. But no, we're gonna do our own thing here. So it can work in both good and bad measures here and everything. That sounds
great. Save it for your next movie.
Yeah. You do it on your crap. We don't want to do any of this.
So what do you think about their decision to basically take one of the main characters out and more or less they put Bob Cratchit and Scrooge into the same body?
I think it's fine. It doesn't seem to I think
because you got to do something new. They've told it from Scrooge's point of view. They've told it from Bob Cratchit's point of view. So what's left? Well, you tell it from both points of view. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it makes sense. I wish that the ending would have been a little more fantastical. I guess I'm getting way ahead of myself there. I feel like the ending, he gets to have it all and sacrifice nothing.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. Yeah, everybody gets their cake and eat it too in this one for the most part. But here's the thing, because I thought about that too. As things are kind of coming to a close, and we'll get back to other stuff. But as things are kind of coming to a close, I'm just like they can't go any other way but good, because the audience at this point, while reality says that this shouldn't be a thing here, we at least need to dangle it in front of our audience as a possibility of something that could happen, but unlikely given how life works and everything. Let's quickly though, let's go from the end but back to the beginning there. The opening scene is so dramatic and over the top, and the music's a little bit crazy, which music by Danny Elfman, and you can only tell a handful of times, but it's so kind of over dramatic at the beginning there. Like, what were your thoughts on that? Because it felt just like, I'm like, what am I watching here? They're so overacting in this first scene where we don't know these characters or anything. And it's just kind of like, and they're supposed to be younger than they certainly are.
I was expecting it to be a kind of thing like he doesn't get on the plane and then the plane crashes. And then his crisis was going to be what would have happened if I got on that plane. And then he sees what life would have been like if he was never born, only not never born if he had died. So that's what I thought. I thought it was going to be a little more direct adaptation of It's a Wonderful Life, but it kind of showed a different decision from what I expected to be made and went in a different direction. But as dramatic as it was, I thought life and death was on the line.
Oh yeah, it's way too much. It's instead of like, hey, I'm going away for a summer so I can intern, here at a bank and everything, which is odd that you're going across the seas to intern at a bank out of college, looking already like you're
Barclays. 33. So Barclays, I guess, is like their Goldman Sachs or whatever.
I don't know. I had a card issued by them at one point.
Yeah,
I'm like, was that out of London? I don't know no better.
Yeah, I don't know nothing, man.
They gave me a couple of pennies. Bad move.
But I also wonder, like, what was she up to that she couldn't? I mean, who wouldn't want to say, "Hey, I'll go with you, and they'll have a place to crash, and I'll just be a tourist this summer." Like, there are a lot of answers other than making that an ultimatum.
Yeah, it seemed odd, but it's one of those things that I think that, like, unfortunately you have to do that in order to kind of get the story rolling here and everything. It's like, if you don't do that, you don't have any story afterwards. You're like, all right, well, fair enough.
Yeah. That's why I thought the plane crashing or something more dramatic like that might have been made this the pivot point in the story. But they took it, they ran with it. Everything gets one, like, suspension of disbelief pass. You know what I mean? And if that's the only one they got to burn, then I won't hold it against them. Like, you get one little plot hole.
So this thing said, the IMDb plot line said where he trades in his sports car and girlfriend for a minivan and a wife. Do you believe that lady at the beginning was his girlfriend in any way, shape, or form? Or do you think she's a lady of the night?
Also, I don't think she's a lady of the night. I think she is a lady that he picked up who's maybe a gold digger of sorts or something, but I don't think she's a working girl. But what do I know?
I don't know. Like, if she felt a little, she felt like he was going like, hey, money's on the dresser. He didn't, but it seemed like it was as close to it as you could get.
Technically, he still has the car at the end of the movie. He got his Ferrari back, remember?
I don't remember exactly what this was in reference to, but I wrote this down. You can tell by the look on his face, he's thinking, I'm Nic Cage, damn it. I don't know what that was in reference to, but it just felt like I watched it at the moment. That was just like Nic Cage just going. And I think that, you know what, that's probably him dancing around in his underpants there, singing opera and everything, and just making passes at the lady in the elevator and stuff like that, where it's just like, but again, here's the thing. All of that stuff is stupid, but they were very smart in as it's all used later.
I'll tell you what a real Nic Cage move was in his performance inside that closet. They have managed to dress that set with what have to be at least 30 identical suits. But he looks through them all and picks one out. And that feels like a Nic Cage touch, because all those suckers are identical and brand new.
That's just the production designer's like, I don't know, suits, put a whole bunch in there. But then again,
he seems like the kind of guy that would have like 50 of the exact same suit because he's trying to stay on brand. I know the first time I had heard about someone doing that was Hugh Hefner had the same black suit like 100 times, and it looked like he was always wearing the same thing.
Hey, listen, Steve Jobs did it. It's like, all right, jeans, turtleneck, no belt. No belt. No belt.
Yeah, jeans and turtleneck a little easier to accumulate than those, I don't know, whatever you call those tailor-made suits.
Yeah.
Brooks Brothers or something.
No, it's better than that. Trust me. What he was looking at and like what that guy would do in Brooks Brothers, you might as well said Walmart. That's the kind of.
So he's like one of those men's club VIPs.
He's better than
men's warehouse VIPs.
He's one of those guys, and I know a little bit about kind of like I don't have any, but for whatever reason I know a bit about men's expensive clothes and stuff like that. But he has kind of that like just I liken it also to like high-end audio gear. You'll see brands and stuff and you're like, well, who is this? I've never heard of this before. And it's called, that's because you can't afford it. You've never heard of this brand because this is not in your tax bracket at all.
I got a $350 pair of jeans once. They don't fit anymore.
Oof. But yeah, like Wilson Audio, like who's like, why would I give my money to? Why would I get? Wait a minute, you're charging me $100,000 for this speaker, the single speaker? Yeah. That's what we do over here. Like that's why you've never heard of them because you can't afford them.
But I only got $30 ears.
Exactly. Well, that's most people's problem. I'll tell you that right now. It's like this is just as good as anything else. You poor summer child. That's just no. You wrong.
What did you think, man? I love how intuitive the child is. The little girl.
Well, let's get to her. Hold on real quick because I want to.
Okay.
But before we get to that, just because we got to hit into that.
We
got to
get from point A to point B, don't we?
But Don Cheadle showing up here, is he like riding the line, or is this what he's supposed to be in here? What do you think of his like performance when we see him kind of robbing this convenience store at the first part? And homeboy from Lost is in it too, which I thought was great, doing a horrible Asian accent.
I think it was exactly what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to look like an authentic robbery of sorts. He was supposed to be someone who it would not be particularly easy to sympathize with. I think that was intentionally part of the test.
Yeah, but like I'm just talking from an acting perspective.
Oh, from an acting perspective, I didn't have any trouble with it.
No, I thought it was fine. It was just there were some points where I'm just like, what is he doing here? This is a little weird because like, and I guess that's maybe part of it is that like he's not like an actual. We don't necessarily know what he is. We can call him like maybe an angel for lack of a better term. He's like you said, he's your Clarence.
Be an angel when I refer to him because there's no other identification.
Yeah, exactly. And when we're working in this, it's a Wonderful Life Dickensian kind of thing. It's pretty much an angel. That's kind of how she or a being of some sort.
Yeah.
I mean, but it works well enough.
Clearly, he's supernatural.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool. I'm surprised that, like, if this were any real thing, he would have, once they were out in the alleyway there, he would have been like, all right, that would be my $200. Let me give you my ticket, and then I'll smash you in the head and take my $200 back. I think that's how it would actually work if this were the real world.
Yeah, I think once the gun's out, he's leaving with every loose bill in the place.
Yeah, he's like, oh, okay, I just paid you the $200. Now I'm just gonna take that plus whatever else you got on you. Like, he's too polite for a criminal.
200 or every penny in the register, you're probably getting the same sentence. So you must well. Armed robbery is a big one.
Yeah. So basically, he gives him kind of like your, you're not gonna like that when you wake up tomorrow kind of thing here and whatnot.
Just remember, you asked for this or something like that.
Yeah, but like at the same time, it's like, but did he though? But did he really ask for it?
Yeah. The whole reason that this guy was sent was because he's about to lose the last part of his humanity, and he's there to see if there's enough left to be worth saving. And there's a little bit there. So he's got to say, all right, the only way to save it is to show you what it is that you have missed all this time by being less than human. So yeah, he when he said, I have everything I need, I don't want everything. Basically, whenever someone says I'm perfect, that's when the gods humble them. I mean, this is Greek storytelling.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, you think you don't meet like, and you're right, because he does kind of give him almost an out there in a way. It's just like, hey, tell me what you're thankful for, essentially.
If he would have said, I'm lonely, then the glimpse would have been something about how to cure that loneliness, or he might have not even used a glimpse. He might have told him, hey, call your old lady up again and you won't be lonely. And then that would have been the end of the story. You know what I mean? But because he said he was perfect, it took an extreme measure to straighten it out.
What if there's a third option and he just sends him directly to hell?
That's the one that I'd probably choose because I just want to clock out and go home.
It's just like, listen, I'm tired. Now, this begs the question that I think is the question that I think anybody could ask when watching this movie, and like I think that it ultimately ends up kind of being the most interesting one, is how would you react if you woke up to the opposite of what your life is?
Well, it depends.
Even if it's in this case, but that's precisely what I mean.
I was going to say that, like, I've woken up to worse things on Christmas morning than Téa Leoni. So,
hey, listen, yeah, and if you're gonna wake up, my God, we'll get into Téa Leoni as this show goes on for sure. But yeah, you could do a whole lot worse.
Did you ever watch The Naked Truth?
I don't think so.
That was the sitcom where I first discovered Téa Leoni. She was the main character on a show about it. It was real easy to confuse it with Just Shoot Me because it was about a like an Inquirer type tabloid.
You know what? That sounds familiar. I maybe I just didn't remember the name and stuff, but I do remember that kind of era that everybody was doing a Just Shoot Me or something similar to that, or like a Caroline in the City. There was always a little bit of something like that kind of going around.
And then after that was over, she like started making movies, married David Duchovny, I think, and then she didn't work as much. But I had a pretty big crush on her from the Naked Truth days. I was a fan.
She is so good in this. She's probably the best actor. She's doing the best acting job in this, I would say. She looks like she loves Nic Cage. She really does. She looks like she's super into him. And like there's so many just looks and stuff that she gives in little tiny moments where I'm like, she's really killing it. And it's not just because that's a pretty lady. You can like look in her eyes and tell like, this chick's acting, dude, and she's really, really killing it. And I was just like, I was so happy of how good she was in this. She felt like a real person that would be from this town here and everything. She just happens to be, super good looking and everything.
Yeah, she really plays the suburban mom really believably, when that's got to be tough for someone like her to play believably, but she communicates it well.
But like when they're in there and they're like, the kids are in bed and they're trying to have their little time, like all of that just rings so very true, and his like kind of reaction and stuff to it. And I think that they played it pretty well for the most part, of like this guy who is, who would have been into just trying to get any lady that he possibly could and stuff like that. But then just it works enough. But again, I think they were very smart in how they didn't have them get into like any like real physical relationship until like, much later in it here and everything, because in the beginning, that's almost kind of weird because they do lay it out a little bit, which I thought was another really interesting choice that they did with the little daughter, who eventually kind of goes, "You're not my dad, are you?" Which is really kind of cool and weird and like
I loved it, though,
right?
That feels authentic though.
Yeah, because this guy is not acting like the guy who she sees every single day. This dude is off.
Children's minds are still a little bit open. They haven't learned all the rules of reality, as it were. So, but I do like it that the most plausible explanation to her is aliens.
Yeah, it's just like, well, okay, so you're like an alien because that can't. But it's so neat that we use that as a thing, and it kind of keeps going on. But what that also then does is allows us to have a character that one kind of knows his secret, so to speak. She doesn't know exactly, but no, she knows it's not dad proper. And it becomes another character then that can inform the character of what's going on, because you can't have any other character, especially any adult character, believe you that you came from another time and, you're an alternate dimension, if you will, or whatever. They're going to look at you like you're a crazy person. But a 5-year-old child,
she's kind of his Jiminy Cricket to a degree.
Certainly. She's just like, well, we need to, but what's nice though, and it makes it really sweet, is that character cares.
Yes.
It's like she knows it's like she's like, oh, this is some other creature or whatever. It's this alien thing, but I need to kind of make sure that it can get along and do this stuff because, he told me the guy I recognize as dad that's going to come back and everything is going to come back. So I'm going to just try to help him along the way here and everything. And it also makes that character super sweet then. You're like, oh, that's so nice.
And I like it. He gives him, the bell, and she just comes up, takes the bell. It kind of saves Christmas to a degree. That was like a sweet little touch. And just a little bit of an homage, in my opinion, to every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And just when like kind of the behind and the little fling, 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 like it's just good little touches like that.
I thought that Jeremy Piven gave a reserved performance that I didn't know he would do.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I think Jeremy Piven's actually a really good actor. He just needs the right stuff.
I think Entourage, the character leaked into our opinions on the actor from Entourage. I'll just leave it at that.
And I don't think that he didn't, but he also, I would say at the same time, didn't do too awful much to dissuade us from that being who he is, but just because he kind of became, Ari after that show, more or less.
Yeah.
Like when his, you can track his career by his hairline.
Yes, I was just going to say, the more hair, the more I like him.
But also the more hair, the more of a D-bag he is too.
It's kind of crazy.
But like you got to remember, everybody, this is like one of Piven's early roles was playing George on Seinfeld when they were doing the TV show. He played George on
the show,
yeah.
George. I didn't realize that was him.
Exactly, because he's far balder than he is at any point in his career. So much so that they said, you're going to be Jason Alexander. All right. In this fake show, you're going to be this guy. And that was Jeremy Piven. And he was like, and honestly, he was really great because he was, he was playing George, this kind of downtrodden, like, okay, well, whatever. It's really good. But like the more hair Jeremy Piven gets, the more a-hole he gets for sure.
Well, I thought that he was actually a moral character in this movie, and I don't know if I've seen him do that before.
No, and it's because he plays smarmy a-holes really, really well. So to have somebody now, he has like a realness to this character that this guy would kind of be a little bit of a dick, and he kind of is. There's a little Piven coming out of there, but generally. This guy, he's a family man. He knows what's kind of right. He's kind of like a douchey little bro, but he's going to be that. That's just kind of like, who he is or whatever. But at the end of the day, he looks at his friend and goes, what are you, a moron? You don't cheat on your wife. You've got the best looking one here. What's wrong with you, my friend? You were insane. Yeah. But at the same time, too, which is very smart of the thing, as far as the story perspective goes and whatnot, he's not that guy, so to speak. He's not the character that's supposed to be there. So while he's doing it, he's not doing it, but he is doing it. I don't know. I just thought that was a very interesting, little level to put into this movie that doesn't need to have that.
And I don't know. What did you think about the Randy housewife that was coming on to him at the bowling alley and the Christmas party and stuff? That felt like something out of Cougar Town or something. It didn't feel like it fit in this movie. Exactly.
No, I don't know. I think I like that actually because and I liked his kind of thought to it because it took him a while to even realize that something was quite going on. Of course, he was also dealing with, I don't live in the same reality that I used to, so he's probably not looking at the finer nuances of people. But eventually when he does look and puts two and two together, and I think we all could have seen that coming down Front Street at the beginning of this thing because she's very much attentive to him and stuff like that. And it's just like, how do you not know that this woman is hitting on you, dude? She's there all over the place and stuff. And I
love how little interest he has the first time she meets him. He's like, yeah, dress is lovely. he walks all the way. Stuff.
He's like, listen, lady, I just got thrown out of time and space. I don't know what that I got. Was I talking to an angel last night that tried to rob a convenience store? Yeah, sure. You look fantastic. Who gives a crap? He's like, I'm just trying to figure out what the hell's going on right now. But speaking of going on, he had the best thing ever. Here's a scenario. You've got the best one of all. You went back in time. You woke up and Téa Leoni didn't get ugly and or fat. You've won the lottery, my friend. You've got it all. Go, just tie it up.
I don't want to lean too much into.
I'm just saying
into that category, but I will just say that Téa Leoni is a catch.
Yeah, I'm saying, but if and you're going to go back now, if it were a realistic thing, Téa Leoni would have got super big. It just would have been a different movie. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Maybe a better one. I don't know. Because let's say she was a little bit dumpier or something like that, and he went after that other wife.
I'm thinking like you cast somebody that's kind of about on par with like the lady from My Big Fat Greek Wedding, like not unattractive, but she looks like a mom, that kind of thing, and then it makes it a little tougher for him.
She might have been a little too young at the time, but like a Melissa McCarthy, she's not an ugly lady, but she's a bigger lady, but you could see why somebody would like her. Right. So like somebody that lived in like just a regular kind of town selling tires at her father's store and everything like that. You could see that, but like, at least Piven has the common decency to shake him and be like, this is the hottest girl in town. What are you doing? What's wrong with you? You're ruining everything. You've got the keys to the kingdom. Just ride this train on out, buddy. Just do it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say, I saw this in the kids' room when they're changing the diaper there and everything, and I saw a piece of furniture, whatever, a toy that I'd never seen before in my entire life. I was going to see if you saw it, especially you, because you'd have been the biggest fan. There was a rocking horse in that little nursery there and everything that was not a rocking horse, but it was a rocking motorcycle.
Whoa.
It was like
I totally missed that.
It was like a little wooden motorcycle that was like looked like a rocking horse, but it was all wood, but it was carved up to look like a motorcycle.
I'm very surprised that neither my brother nor myself had that growing up because my dad was a motorcycle guy. But yeah, that's cool. No, that's new to me.
It had like gas tank on it. Everything is like real. I was just like, wow, what is this? I've never seen anything like that before. And, it was a little boy, so it kind of would make sense that they'd have a little motorcycle thingy there and everything. He's not old enough to ride it yet at this point because he's in diapers. But, I thought it was pretty sweet. I was like, oh, that's very neat.
I had a Chips motorcycle Power Wheels thing when I was a kid that came with the Chips helmet. It was whatever the predecessor to Power Wheels was called, and it had 3 wheels on it, so it was terribly unstable. But I would zip around on that thing at about 7 miles an hour max, probably less than that.
See, we had what do you call them? Big wheels. Big wheels was the big one. That was our kind of like 3-wheeled mode of transportation here and everything. And my cousin, who get this doesn't make no sense to me. My cousin, who was the child of a preacher. Right.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't think that he would be able to get he got more like Ghostbusters figures and stuff that we did, like all the the scary ghosts and all that kind of good stuff, like the toilet with the teeth and all that kind of good thing. He had all of this stuff. I forget where I was going with this, but
he was a preacher's kid and he had money for all that.
Yeah, it was just, but it was so bizarre that they would have. I've totally lost my train of thought.
Well, let's talk about Danny Elfman then.
Yeah.
I did not realize Danny Elfman was the mind behind the music on this. And man, I think he really shines around Christmas music. I thought about Batman Returns and how much I like the music in that. And he's really good here. I feel like he's done. Did he do the music for The Nightmare Before Christmas?
Oh yeah. He's the voice of Jack Skellington, for crying out loud.
He shines around some Christmas time. So that was a bold move for the people who produced this movie, because this is shaping them to be a pretty expensive movie for what should be on par with a rom-com.
Yeah, but at the same time too, this is 2000, and Ratner had really kind of, especially after the Rush Hour films and stuff like that, because this is between a couple of Rush Hours. Especially the first one, it did so well, and then I think Red Dragon was close-ish to around this time. He'd done some stuff that had gotten some pretty decent accolades and everything, so he could put together a pretty decent crew here and everything, really up until 2012-ish, somewhere around that, 2014 maybe. Tower Heist was the last big thing that he did of any kind of note that had your Eddie Murphys and a whole bunch of other big stars in it, and then it kind of came out that he was a douchebag.
You mentioned Rush Hour.
Mm-hmm.
Is this movie different with Chris Tucker in the Don Cheadle role?
Hey man, you need to take care of your life
in the Don Cheadle role.
Oh man, be very confusing for everybody. He's like, is this angel going to kick somebody's ass? What's going on here? I'm very, very confused. Here's another note that I have. I said, listen. You can't have sex on stairs covered in cake. You just can't. It's no good.
I don't know. Have you seen A History of Violence? They do something like that.
There ain't no cake involved. That's the difference. You can have one or the other. You can make out with a little bit of cake, and you're just like, this is kind of gross that we both got cake on our face and we're kind of going at it and stuff like that.
Are you saying you have to choose between cake and pie?
You kind of. Because you can do listen, that one's gross, I'm not going to lie to you, and having sex on stairs, that's just it's the math is not very good on that one. So really combining both of those together is just a real, it's a Voltron of bad. It's not going to happen. But I also like how it's the one thing of hey, you're a bad girl, and she's just you ruined it. You ruined it. You got chocolate cake on your face and you're banging on the stairs while your kids are up asleep. Don't talk to me about him saying you a bad girl is going to ruin the mood. Shut up.
It would have only been worse if it was on an escalator.
Sex on an escalator. That's the best Aerosmith song we never got.
Sex on an escalator. Got to be quick because you'll be there soon.
Yeah, you gotta really be on your timing game there and everything. So careful.
Wow, we're going blue this week.
Let me ask you this: how did this guy get to be the president of this bank here, and he doesn't know how to soft sell for getting an anniversary gift? He fell apart real fast.
He has never been in a relationship. It takes practice for everything, my friend.
I feel like you'd be so much better at lying. And be like, oh yeah. And you never took this into account. And the easiest thing is listen, And she even makes a mention of it. She's like, you usually can't wait till the sun even comes up here before you're giving me my present and stuff. All you have to do is just go like, yeah, I'm playing a little bit of a different game this year, blah, 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 blah. You could lie yourself out of that so easily, and you didn't. It's just like, it made me nuts.
Yeah, you make a pretty good point. Now, I didn't pick up on it at the time, but now in retrospect, you kind of ruined that part.
I'm a ruiner, I'll tell you that. Let me ruin this one for you. This ruins it for everything. Do you think that kids are coached on the widow kid voice? Because this girl's got widow kid voice all over it. And she's like, oh, why would just dropping the vowels and stuff like that and really rounding a lot of the words?
That's a good question, because it would be pretty easy for me to believe that was just her voice, but it would also be easy for me to believe that it's Hollywood. So, they want to play it up a little bit.
You're a widow kid, and widow kids talk just like this. We do a little bit of blah, 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 blah. It's all of that stuff, very rounded words and everything. It's kind of, it's odd.
Yeah. Boy, that's another one I didn't notice in the moment, but now I'm going to think about it.
Well, let's say that. All right, so let's get to this point. We get to this idea. Now, I think it's a good one too, because there is the possibility for this movie to be compared to something like Groundhog Day, right? To where, you'll get out of this loop or whatever once you've kind of figured out whatever it is that you need to figure out. But for him, it's basically, you're going to live here. We're not repeating the same day, but you're going to live here until you can figure this shit out. And he's there till late February.
And there seems to be something cruel about it, that you're stuck here until you want to be here, and then we're going to take you away.
It's about as cruel as you can get, to be quite honest.
But he doesn't learn his lesson until he has a chance to pursue his old life, and then he really has to, for real, make a decision to make a sacrifice, and that's when he breaks out of it.
I did like him kind of going back and everything, and like when he first gets there, just kind of going back to his office, nobody knowing who he is and everything, and then eventually when he gets back and stuff. And again, it's a great logical thing that you would think of, right? So he's going to leave out of there once he gets back to his original timeline, so to speak, and then go to the house that he's just been living in months. And of course, as it would happen, she ain't living there, because why would she?
Well, I wanted to ask you about something before he comes back to the original universe. When the guy comes in with the flat tire, he sweet talks him in the office, convinces him to go back. Yeah. I think in the real world, the best you could hope is to impress him so much he would let you start out as a junior analyst. You know what I mean? Not take you into the C-suite on your first day at the office. Like, that part was just a bit much. I don't care how much you impress somebody at the table. They're not bringing you in on that level. That's not what people like that do.
No, it's not. And if somebody came and knew a whole bunch about your, profession and everything, you wouldn't just be like, well, you need to show up to my office on Monday. I know that you work here at the McDonald's, but it sounds like you're pretty good. So I'm going to put you up in this high level position here. And it's like, it's a little odd, but I certainly enjoyed the kind of profile and everything that they gave back to the guys and stuff like that. The fact that he knows them for all of these years and stuff, and can be a person that's off the street that can really look at them and pick out all their little picadillos and stuff. Like, you're a guy that likes, you drink bourbon, but you serve everybody scotch and stuff like that. That's very cool. I did enjoy that as kind of like a little, method of getting that job.
That is the kind of thing in real life that probably gets the police called on you, though, because it would freak people out a lot.
Well, at least Saul Rubinek has the reason to just go, how did you figure this out? Did you get his wallet or something? What is this bullcrap? What are you doing?
Especially in a world after what happened to a CEO recently, people are going to be real paranoid about you knowing their schedule.
Yeah, it's just like, you do what now? I just met you. You're a guy that's working in a tire office, but yet you know all of my ambitions and stuff. That's
real
scary.
Life, he would have never left that office alive. And they'd have never found the body.
Oh yeah, I'd just be like, how do you know this? What do you know about this? And especially and again, it's such an interesting thought that if you go in to, get your tires fixed here and everything, this guy knows about your business and to a specificity that's wild.
And, he said he was just driving by and the tire up and blew out on him right in front of the tire store. Was that cash that made him get that flat to set this up to test our boy, Jack Campbell?
I don't know.
That's what I always thought, was that this was a specific test that he had to pass to get out of here.
That's not a bad choice. I kind of like that.
Because he's given the choice to go back to his old life, and he starts to go down that path until Tia Leone talks some sense into him. And then once he decides to stick with Tia Leone and the family man life, that's when he gets set free.
Yes, I don't want to go anywhere. I like this. This is okay. But again, it's a smart thing that, like, okay, well, let's send him back now. And he does do the thing that you would think that that the character would want to do. It feels like it's motivated here and everything. But again, like real life, like it's probably not going to end up like you want it to be. And at least we only get to see them kind of like at the airport lounge there or whatever, kind of talking at the end of the thing. So at least they're having this conversation where you don't leave this going, well, everything ended out perfect, because it necessarily didn't. We don't know, but more than likely, this never, based upon what we know, given the information that we have that the movies presented us, these people are probably not going to get together. They've led two completely different lives, and he's like, this was that glimpse. It was a glimpse of what could have happened, but I think no matter how hard he tries, it's not going to be a thing that it could ever. It's not a dream that could come true.
Even if he doesn't make another dime, he's like set for life. He's made that kind of money. You know what I mean? So it's like suddenly he gets to have his cake and eat it too, and doesn't have to sacrifice. Plus, she's got a ton of money. Plus, if she's going to like him now, seems like the kind of person that's probably going to like him because he's got a ton of money and not because he's sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it ends up. I'd like to see the sequel where they're just murdering one another. It turns into War of the Roses. This is a prequel for War of the Roses.
And she's just big into all of this stuff, and she's going to France and whatnot to pursue is it art? Is that what she's doing?
No, she's a lawyer. She's going to France because her firm is opening up a big office in Paris.
Yeah. First of all, no.
Yeah, I know.
No, they are not. Why would American American law firm go and open up a branch in France? For what reason?
Now, you know what's going to happen now? This is the kind of thing that I say boldly, then we just get tons of comments of American lawyers practicing in Paris.
Bring it on.
This is like there aren't any leopards in India. So I'm not going to say a word. It just doesn't seem feasible to me. I wouldn't have written it this way.
I'll say that, and I'm going to say there's not a dentist in the world that can fix these teeth. See what we're doing? We're just kind of laying some track. See what the hell's going to happen. You got to throw a little line out there and see if anything can kind of come back, talk shit, see what happens.
I think it would have been just as good if she was going to head up the L.A. office. New York and L.A., that's a world apart.
Yeah. You don't need to go into France. It sounded sexy, I guess, he was going across the sea, so they had to put her across the sea. So
yeah, it was symmetry. They like symmetry in this movie because also the first time we meet Don Cheadle, he's robbing a clerk in a convenience store. Then the last time we see him, he's a clerk who gets robbed.
It's kind of fun. Well,
yeah.
But at the same time, too, I like how he's he's testing the little girl there. She gives him $1 for the Coke, which, remember, kids, you could get a 20-ounce of Diet Coke for $1.
99 cents.
What a world we used to live in. That's only 25 years ago. But yeah. But then so she hands him what is clearly $1, and he hands her back like $9 and change and a penny.
$9 and 1 penny. And she just takes it.
And she just takes it, and he's just like, look at that. You see this? You give these people a chance, and they just go like. And here's the thing: this girl didn't look like a hardened criminal. She just looked like any 9-year-old girl who would be out at a convenience store.
That would be entrapment in any court in the nation.
It's just like, what are you talking about? He gave her that money. What was she supposed to do? Not take it? Like, well, if she was decent.
The kid who would have said, "No, you gave me too much." Because I'm like that, or I used to be. I don't know. Try me now, clerks.
I had there would be a couple of times where I would probably do that, but I got to tell this story, and we'll kind of wrap things up. But it's a fun enough story. So for a good while there, I want to say I was probably 18 to 20, somewhere in that range, I would say. But I would go by the Taco Bell, go through the drive-thru, and I went through one day. I got the order, and so. This is how it was delivered to me. You pull up to the window there. Window opens up. She hands out the bag and the drink, and then kind of steps back, and the window closes. So I'm like, okay, free food. So then I just drove.
Yeah.
Right? I come back. I don't know if it was the next day. It might have been a day or two after. But then I came up, and I was just like, all right, here's my order. I pull up to the window. I'm handing my bag. I'm handing my drink. No one says a word about money. Window I'm like, fuck this. I'm getting out of here. So I take off again.
It happened twice?
It happened. No. It got to the third point. I came a third time, And she finally got it. She's just like, hey, you've been doing this. I go, I've been doing this because you've never asked me for any money. I said, take the money first, then give them the food. How has this not been happening to you for weeks?
Some places have 2 windows just to keep that from happening.
It seemed bizarre. It's like, get the money before you get the food there, dingus. Don't just hand me the food and be like, well, he's going to hand me money, right? No, he's going to take off. You are so dumb. How would you be? Come on. That's ridiculous.
Just throw the money against the closed window and the clinking of the quarters will get her attention.
Fine, you'll pick it up, right? No, thank you. All right, well, we got to ask her.
I'm always afraid it's a setup and they get a picture of my license. Next thing you know, the cops are shooting me in the back for stealing a burger.
If it were today, I'd probably go and park and eat it over in a parking lot that's just adjacent to it. And like, we can see you. We know what your car looks like. You were just here 5 seconds ago. You can't hide in the Dunkin' parking lot. That's not going to make, we're going to see you. No good. All right, so we got to ask ourselves: is Nic Cage doing it in this movie? I think he's fine. I don't know that he's like killing it per se.
I think there's probably a list of any of your standard American white guy actors could have played this role.
Yeah, that was next question for if you had to recast the role, who you would. This is a tough one, and I don't know that he would have enough to play the D-bag of it, but maybe he could. Maybe he could stretch it out a little bit. But I thought maybe Tom Hanks.
He's a little too good for this movie.
I know he is too good for this movie, but like he is he's our everyman. He's our George Bailey of the 21st century.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, if they wanted to do George Bailey, he's the man. But the way they're trying to walk across 2 lines, I would say more like a Clooney type who can be sweet and be cold. Or
Clooney would be a good choice.
Yeah.
Maybe I think the only problem with that is he's a little too handsome. Now she's awful. Yeah. She's awful good looking, but at the same time too, he's a far better looking guy than Cage is, and not for nothing, Cage, but you and I, we all know it's true.
Kevin Spacey could have done it.
Spacey could have been okay. Could have been, and he was riding high at this point, and you're 2000 there and everything, so he can get kind of whatever he wants at this point. He's just off of American Beauty and whatnot, so he's doing all right.
How about Charlie Sheen? Get back the original Wall Street guy.
Here's the thing. That's not a horrible choice and it's a lot tougher to do. But when you can rein in Charlie Sheen can be really good. But you got to be able to harness that.
If you're going to make it more of a pure comedy, like who would you put? I don't think you put Adam Sandler, but I think there's a lot of people from like that SNL line of comedy who could play like the jerk rich guy who becomes a family man in a more comedic way.
Yeah. Just kind of hand it into more of a comedic area because this is definitely considered a drama for sure.
Yeah. Paul Rudd could have been fun in this. I don't know if he's old enough in 2000.
He's probably a little too young still looking. He's probably close to old enough, but still too young looking. That's been his problem up until the last, he's aged in the last 10 years. Thank God he's starting to he's not a witch anymore. the picture of Dorian Gray is kind of, it's staying the same there now. And he's finally starting to age a little bit. So that's nice to see. But I think he's too young again. I think, but here's the thing though. Maybe that's probably better because Nic Cage is playing younger than his actual age here for sure. He's in his 40s playing someone in his 30s.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
He's 28 years old in this movie.
Yeah, no.
I made that up. He's not 28, but yeah, I think that he's supposed to be playing 30s. I have no idea how old he is in real life.
Well, he just got out of college there, so let's call him 23.
It's 13 years
plus
later.
13, so, yeah. So we'll call him 36.
So 22, 13, 35.
Yeah, 35, 36, somewhere in that neighborhood. And Nic Cage is probably about 45 in this. I don't know. He looks old. He's always looked a little older than he actually is. Just on account of the hairline here and everything. Oh, I mentioned that. So, which hair piece is better, Cage or Piven?
I'm gonna go with Cage. Piven's kind of looks painted on at times.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna say most of that's still Piven's hair though. It's plugs.
That's just what his hair looks like.
It's plugs, but that's it's kind of he hadn't got this good plug guy yet. But Cage, I can almost see the lacing in the front of his wig. I can almost see it. It's pretty, It's close. You can see,
well,
and
I'm
it's
watching on 482 TV,
and it's so long and like goes all the way, like starts like the hair that starts at the crown of your forehead there is going all the way to the back and bottom of his neck. It's like it's that long sort of thing, man. It's a little bit bananas, but it's that rug. You can see it. You can see the lace on the wig. It ain't no good. But overall, though, you know, it's for Nic Cage performance. It's that nice middle of the road. You're not too cagey, but you're not too, you know, boring either there. So it's a good mix. So the movies only come in two forms: art or fart. Bruce, what does The Family Man fall on the art or fart scale for you?
Well, it touches close to home. You know, I feel like it mirrors some choices I've had to make in my own life, and you may not know this about me, Adam, or any of the listeners, but I am a family man.
Yes, indeed.
So this hits close enough to home that I'm going to call it art.
I'm calling it art too. You know, not a family man. So I'm like on the opposite side of that spectrum. And there are, you know, certain ways that I could look back upon my life and go, what would happen if I went down a particular direction as opposed to another one? And I think no matter who we are, that's something that everybody can kind of relate to, is like being able to look back and just go like, well, what could this scenario have been, you know, for good or for bad? And, you know, it's always, we are kind of the sum of the events of our lives here and everything. So that's something I always, you know, clue people into, like Eternal Sunshine and Spotless Mind, is like even all the bad things is like that is also what made you. So you need to, you know, grasp onto those things and hold on to them, even though they're things that are, you know, may not always be considered the most, you know, positive sort of thing. So that's at least how I look at it. Well, that is it, everybody. We got another one of our St. Nicholas Cage, the Christmas movies of Nicolas Cage, and we got one more in the chamber here, everybody. And we've been getting through all this one. I wanted to do this one this week. I wanted to do The Family Man this week because this one was a little bit more serious, a little bit more, you know, kind of dramatic and everything. And I figure, hey, if we're going to go into our, you know, just before Christmas here and everything, we need to go in with a nice, lighthearted comedy. And here's the thing, as many things as Nic Cage has been in, hasn't been nearly as many comedies as one might suspect. So what happens, back in 1994, we get together our boy Nic Cage, Dana Carvey, and John Lovitz. You know that triple team, that triple threat team that you always know, and we grew up just going like, yeah, once they get all three of those guys together, then you're going to be really good. But that's what we're doing. We're doing Trapped from 1994. You know, this is one I remember seeing trailers for a whole bunch. I don't know that I've ever seen the movie, but like when you watch the trailer, you're just like, I've seen this trailer a million times if I've seen it once.
Yeah.
So we'll be checking that out next week. In the meantime, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I think people should go on over to the HMP YouTube channel. Check out what's cooking over there. All kinds of good popcorn videos will be coming up soon. How to make cheddar popcorn, how to make cross-eyed popcorn, all that kind of stuff. And then while you're over at YouTube, you can always check out Werewolf Fighter. It is the perfect Christmas film for the family that doesn't like Christmas or films or family.
If you don't like any of those things, you'll love this. Bruce Leslie. That is it, everybody. Join us next week when we're talking Trapped in Paradise from 1990. For the absent Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Porter, reminding you that the only difference between art and fart is an F.